Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 5, and today we're taking a look at the 2018 Audi RS5 Coupe. Now this is part of the second generation of the A5, which started production in 2018. This is a sportier version of the S5, but instead of just being sportier, or being told as it's being sportier, it does have extras over the S5 itself. It has a different engine with more power and torque, improved suspension and wider fenders. It also shares the same 8-speed automatic gearbox with the S5, and as per usual with Audi, has all-wheel drive via the Quattro system. So yeah, I really do like the look of this car. Coupes generally have to be, better in terms of looks to compensate for the lack of any rear doors, and yeah, I do think this looks absolutely spectacular. Far better than the previous generation, which wasn't bad looking, but this definitely looks better. It's also really rather quite practical for a coupe, as you can see. Got a nice large boot, and the interior, being a modern Audi, looks pretty damn good as well in terms of quality and yeah, in terms of what's available spec wise. So yeah, all very nice. This is a year before it actually got a facelift, and to be honest, I prefer this to the facelifted version. But it's not much of a difference, really, to be honest. What is a difference is the engine over the previous generation. Now, the previous generation's most powerful version had a 4.2 litre V8. This has a 2.9 litre twin turbocharged V6. But don't bemoan that, because it has the same horsepower, 444 horsepower, as that V8 version. But the torque is up massively at 443 pounds-feet of torque, which is a massive 126 pounds-feet of torque more than that V8 version, which is, yeah, really rather impressive. Granted, this does weigh a little bit more. It weighs 160 pounds more than that previous generation at 3,990 pounds. But yeah, there's no getting over that extra 126 pounds-feet of torque, quite frankly, with the, even with that extra weight. And on top of that, you also have the far faster 8-speed automatic gearbox. So yeah, this is, in terms of acceleration and top speed, quicker than the previous generation, as you'd expect with a more modern car. But yeah, nonetheless, let's get out onto the open road and see just what this car can do. Right, so here we are at the drag strip, where we'll go right to the end with the camera and see how quick we'll go before we hit that camera, and yeah, then we'll hoon it around the track. So yeah, with all of that weight, you wouldn't expect this to be that quick off the line, but with that all-wheel drive system, with that 8-speed automatic gearbox, and with the turbochargers providing all of that torque, it is lightning fast. So let's see how fast, and yeah, see how quick we'll go before we hit the speed camera. So yeah, as you can see, no slouch at all, despite having a far smaller engine than the V8 version in the previous generation. Yeah, 132 mile an hour pretty much there, so that is really, really quick, despite that extra weight. But at the end of the day, that extra weight is going into, being more refined, having more equipment and the like. So it's not like you're just getting extra weight just for the fun of it. It's extra weight that is going to be used in some regard, and yeah, to only be 160 pounds heavier than the previous generation, given all the improvements in safety and the fact it's got 2 turbochargers on that engine now, despite being smaller. Yeah, it's pretty impressive from Audi, quite frankly. It manages its weight pretty much rather well, to be honest. And even though the stats say otherwise, I feel like this is a better handling car than the previous generation. So yeah, we're dead on mid-A class. So let's look at the stats. So yeah, the speed, handling, acceleration, launch are all really rather good. Braking's a little bit on the downside, but then we saw that kind of problem with the RS3 sedan, so yeah, I guess that's kind of a thing with Audi, although you can option front ceramic brakes. I'm not sure if this has that option, but yeah, I'd definitely go for that given how much this car actually weighs. But yeah, still, the stats overall are really rather good, so which is nice to see. So yeah, as per usual, we'll listen to the engine first for a little bit before talking about it some more as we go around this track. So yeah, let's see what it sounds like, and yeah, then we'll talk about how it handles. So yeah, it's not the most exciting sounding engine going, and in comparison to the V8 version in the previous generation, it's definitely not as good as that, because that was easily one of the best V8 engines ever made, quite frankly. So yeah, a little bit of a shame in that regard, but the advantages in every other aspect is noticeable. More torque, less weight up front, even though I did slightly nip the wall, but that's generally at lower speeds that you get some understeer with this. But yeah, not only do you get a more torque from this engine, but it's more economical. It's got the turbochargers, and yeah, it's slightly lighter up front without the sizable V8. So even though the turning at slower speeds is typically Audi in terms of the understeer, at higher speeds it definitely does feel like it has more in the way of turning. So yeah, definitely better in that regard, and definitely better in terms of acceleration. 0 to 60 in 3.515 seconds, 0 to 100 in 8.8 seconds, and it will go to a top speed of 194 miles an hour. Now that is nearly a second quicker to 60 than the previous generation. It's 1.3 seconds quicker to 100, and that's 9 mile an hour quicker at the top end. So yeah, overall this is a pretty sizable improvement over the previous generation, and like I said, the only downside to this is the engine not sounding as good, but that's a worthwhile compromise given all of the other advantages that you're getting. Better looks, improved technology in the car because it's a more modern vehicle, quicker in terms of acceleration at top speed, more economical. It's just generally a really rather good all-rounder, this. So yeah, highly recommend trying this out if you can. You can get this via the car pass, so obviously you need to have that to try this car out, but yeah, it's a great addition to the car pass. We've not had a RS5 Coupe since the previous generation in a Forza game, which was out in 2011, so it's been a long while since we've had one. But yeah, still, cracking car, really a good addition to the car pass overall, which, yeah, this is the second Audi we've had in a row, and I think the third Audi overall, which is modern in terms of being 2018 or newer. So yeah, great addition to the game, and yeah, really rather enjoyable to drive, so yeah, well worth checking out if you can. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.